These are some of the biggest mountains in the United States. The only problem is they don't belong here.
In the center of the United States, almost halfway between the Atlantic and the Pacific, are 58 of North America's tallest mountains.
The only problem is, according to geologists, they shouldn't exist.
Yet here they are, 58 mountains towering 14,000 feet above sea level, all in the state of Colorado, hundreds and hundreds of miles from the nearest tectonic plate boundary. Having just moved to Colorado, I wanted to learn more about these misplaced mountains, experience them firsthand, and learn what they are like, how they have captured the imagination of so many, and most importantly, how they got here.
Because large mountain ranges like the Rocky Mountains almost always form near tectonic plate boundaries, where two plates collide, crumpling the earth and forming mountains. The easiest way I know how to explain it is like a car collision. You get two big heavy objects collide into each other and you get crumpling. That explains pretty much how all mountain ranges are formed. The weird thing about the Rocky Mountains is if the collision happened over here, the Rocky Mountains formed all the way over here.
Because the nearest tectonic plate boundary is the San Andreas Fault in California, 800 to 1,000 miles to the west. So how did these mountains get here?
The mountains of Colorado should be about the same height as the Black Hills of South Dakota.
This is Lon Abbott, professor of geology at the University of Colorado at Boulder.
It turns out that for a number of different reasons, we know that there had to be some second uplift event that created the mountains we see today, and it didn't involve that plate convergence. And we do not actually understand exactly what it is and when it happened.
We are right at about 12,200 feet, which means we got about 2,221 feet to go. I think I'm going to camp here for the night. It's a little exposed, but I think we're gonna be okay. And then tomorrow, all we got left is to go up, up, up. I have been hiking in the mountains pretty much my entire adult life. I have stood on top of several tall mountains, but today's going to be my very first 14er.
14er is a popular term for any peak above 14,000 feet in elevation. These are the highest peaks in North America. Out of 96 14ers in the United States, 29 of them are in Alaska, 12 are in California, and 58 are in Colorado.
Hey, real quick, and then we'll get back to the 14ers. All the maps of today's video were provided by Natural Atlas, and most of them I printed myself at home using the print feature in the Natural Atlas app.
If you love maps like I do, then you have to check out Natural Atlas. It's a GPS app that doesn't feel cold like a lot of the apps on the market today. It has the look and feel of the old USGS quadrangles, but right there on your phone. And if you prefer printed maps, you can make custom selections to print at home, or even take them to the print shop to get large 20 by 30 inch custom maps.
Speaking of large maps, Natural Atlas has partnered with Mirrorway to print some truly beautiful large format maps that you can hang on your wall.
At the beginning of this video, you saw their national parks map that shows all the national parks, national monuments, and national forests in the United States. And they have these maps highlighting long trails like the Appalachian Trail, the PCT Trail, and the High Sierras, including the John Muir Trail. And they're currently working on a Colorado map showing all the 14ers.
Go check out Natural Atlas through the link in the description and get 25% off a year subscription of the Natural Atlas app, or get 15% off the maps that Natural Atlas has printed through Mirrorway. Now, back to some Colorado 14ers. Over half of the tallest mountains in the United States are here in Colorado, and geologists disagree on how they got here. The most popular theory is flat slab subduction.
Most mountain ranges are formed when one tectonic plate, usually an oceanic plate, subducts or slides under a continental plate. The oceanic plate, being harder and denser, plunges at a pretty deep angle, melts in the heat of the Earth's magma, and pushes up lots of hot molten material, creating volcanoes, mountain ranges, and the like. This is how mountain ranges like the Sierra Nevadas in California and the Andes in South America were formed. But to explain what's going on over in Colorado, hundreds of miles from tectonic plate boundaries, most geologists favor a flat slab subduction theory.
The idea is that a young, buoyant oceanic plate plunged underneath the continental plate at a shallow angle, about like a spatula underneath a layer of gooey pancakes.
This long, shallow plate slid under the continent for a long way, pushing up mountains all along the way until it reached Colorado, where it hit something hard, pushing up the Rocky Mountains.
That sort of explains these mountains. The only problem is no other tectonic slabs have behaved that way, and even if that is how these mountains were formed, it doesn't explain why they are so big.
Flat slab subduction could explain these mountains if they were around 7,000 feet above sea level, which is about half of what we actually find here in Colorado. To explain the rest of the growth, scientists believe there was a second major growth period that gave us the mountains we see today.
It turns out that for a number of different reasons, we know that there had to be some second uplift event. The mountains of Colorado, they should be 7,000 feet, not 14,000 feet. So something else caused the Colorado Mountains to become 14ers. And we do not actually understand exactly what it is and when it happened.
So the reality is we don't fully understand why the Rocky Mountains are where they are or how they got to be so tall, but they're here, and because they're here and because they're some of the tallest in the country, that means people want to climb them, and not just some of them, all of them. So is this your first 14er?
No, this will be, this makes 23, 24.
You know, as many as I can.
Do you have plans to do them all someday?
Yes, honestly, that would be something I would really be interested in for sure.
One of the problems with climbing all the 14ers is knowing exactly how many there are.
53 last time I checked, but maybe 58.
Guess depends on how you count. 54 plus maybe a couple, but
They're 56, I believe.
Over 55, I think.
They're 58.
I don't know, 50 something.
If you do a quick search, you will find numbers range from 53 all the way up to 58 Colorado 14ers, which is confusing. Part of the problem comes from the fact that there is no standard definition of what divides one mountain from another.
For instance, I'm standing on top of a 14,000 foot peak right now, and if I look off to the south, there's another 14,000 foot peak over there connected by this high saddle. The question is, are these two separate mountains or one mountain?
If you look at Mount Massive, the second highest mountain in Colorado at 14,429 feet, it has 4 peaks above 14,000 feet, yet it's all counted as the same mountain, one massive mountain. But if you look at the Maroon Bells, you have a very similar situation going on. 2 peaks connected by a high saddle, yet these peaks are considered 2 separate peaks, so what gives?
The general rule of thumb is that a peak needs at least 300 feet of prominence to be considered its own mountain. That means that if there's a saddle that connects the 2 peaks, that saddle needs to drop at least 300 feet below its lowest neighbor. Only then is it considered a separate mountain.
Which is where we get 54 14ers from, because there are 54 peaks with at least 300 feet of prominence in Colorado, which makes sense, but where does the number 58 come from?
The leftover peaks are peaks that have a separate name from their nearest neighbor, but don't have 300 feet of prominence. Basically, some explorer many years ago either didn't know or didn't care about the 300-foot prominence rule, saw 2 peaks, and gave them 2 separate names. So that's where we get the number 58. Colorado has 58 named peaks above 14,000 feet in elevation, none of which should exist, or at least if they should, we can't explain why.
I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like videos like this one where I talk about interesting topics surrounding the areas that I'm hiking in, please let me know in the comments below so I know if I should make more. And be sure to like, subscribe, and do all those other things. And as always, thanks for watching.